In a world full of negative people. Hey man, I'm just trying to be a positive guy, a positive farmer, a positive outfitter. This is the SharkFarmer podcast with your host, Rob Sharkey. Whatever.
And welcome again to SharkFarmer Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Rob Sharkey, and today we're going to go down to Texas, Gatesville, Texas. We're going to talk with Cody and Erica Archie. How you guys doing?
We're good. How are y'all?
Doing pretty good. Now, where in the great state of Texas is Gatesville?
So we're right in what we like to call God's country, but for most of the folks out there, they will probably understand it as the closest big city would be Waco, Texas, home of the fixer-uppers, Chip and Joanna. We're just about 40 miles due west of them.
All right, is that where you're from originally?
Well, that's where I'm from originally. Erica grew up in the Flat.
Oh, my gosh. We're from the same town. I grew up in a little community outside of town that Cody likes to make fun of me about.
Is it on the wrong side of the tracks? Is that what it is?
That's what he likes to say, yes.
Pretty much everybody was barefoot and stole brass out of the Army camp. So.
Well, Cody, I would like to thank you for going ahead and swallowing your pride and, welcoming her into your family. That was really nice of you.
Yeah, I mean, we do what we can. I mean, we're a strong Christian family, so we try to do what we can to raise up others if we can.
That's fantastic. I mean, you're actually walking the walk. I mean, my gosh. Erica, do you realize what a great man you have?
I know. I try not to take it for granted every day.
Okay.
See, most of the people from Flat back in the day, they didn't matter what time of year it was, they rode around with no shirt on and their window rolled down, their arm hanging out. And that's probably one of the things that drew me to Erica the most was...
Do they have the rat tails? Is that the type of town?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Guys, we got to roll into my ad. Today's podcast is sponsored to you by a John Deere. You ever heard of them?
Got two of them.
Nice. Well, then, man, I'll tell you what. Cody, I don't think there could be a better man to interview. The charity that you're sending to Erica by, allowing her to marry you and stuff, plus you have John Deere's. I got to say, I'm a little bit in awe.
Well, I mean, it's a hard life, Rob, but somebody's got to live it.
Uh-huh. Well, I know what could make your life easier. It's the John Deere Essential Kits. Now, this is an upgrade. What's nice, because you don't necessarily have to have the newest of the new. Actually, we have this on a 2000, a 9200 2000 John Deere. You can upgrade to the G5 display, which is money. You can do the Starfire 7000 receiver, which is fantastic. That's a cool-looking one, the flat one. Plus, you get the JD Link, the M or the R modem, depending on what you have. That gives you everything. You got SFRTK, which is fantastic. We got Machine Sync this year. So now, when I'm in the combine, I can actually control the auger cart. This is probably all kind of foreign to you ranchers, isn't it?
Well, we're still waiting to upgrade to a cab unit. So, yeah, this is a little foreign to us.
It's a different podcast that got the cab advertising. So we're going to stick with the Essentials kit. But good luck with your cab. Once you do, I mean, the next step would probably be to get this upgrade. It can take an older machine, and it could take you into not just current times, but my gosh, it's going to take you into the future. Just think of it as a time machine. Think of all the fun stuff you could do with that.
Man, it would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Uh-huh. If you want to learn more, go to johndeere.com. Search the Essential Kits. All right, Cody and Erica Archie from Gatesville, Texas. Bar 7 Ranch. That is your ranch, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you buy it as a Bar 7, or did you buy a ranch and make it into the Bar 7?
No, we're first generation. We started from scratch. So the way the Bar 7 came about is, as a young man, I had family that as well as Erica had family that were involved in farming and ranching, but neither one of our parents were ranchers. We didn't inherit any land from our family. We bought our place, and I'd been working in a preconditioning yard, background in cattle. Had a little lease place that I was running cattle on. And whenever you're a kid, everybody has a brand, what they think they want to be their brand, or at least, country kids do. And mine was always going to be a C with an A coming up through the bottom of it to make the bottom of the C made the bar through the middle of the A.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried branding that on a few cows that I was buying back then, and the center portion of the A would always fall out. It was just too tight of an area there. It just it blurred the brand. So the backgrounding operation that I was working on, we had an electric running iron there to do stuff with. And number 7 was always my favorite number. If, pick a number between 1 and 10, it was always 7. So I thought, well, I can make a bar 7 real easy with that electric running iron. So that's where the bar 7 was formed.
So no, we don't have 7 kids or 7 people in our family.
Didn't win a poker game with the 4 sevens. And I like to say that 7 is a number of perfection when you read the Bible, and that's why we chose it. But that's not it. That would be a lie. So
okay, you might want to make up a better story for that. Really,
that's what I tell people. I'm like, it's not a very good story.
Yeah. Well, how'd you come up with that? Well, the 6 people that asked before can't ask again. And then that's all you have to say. Okay.
There you go.
All right. Where'd you two meet?
We met at the bank of all places.
We went to high school together,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah.
But Erica was one of those highfalutin cheerleader and athletic girl, played softball and.
But I thought she was from the wrong side of the tracks, man.
Exactly.
You're conflicting.
Exactly.
Even that side of the track had people that were cheerleaders. I mean, we went to a small school, Rob. Took everybody. So
Cody was a workaholic. Was not involved in sports. Didn't go to the same kind of functions. So we didn't even know each other in high school.
Okay.
Well, I knew who I was. I mean, everybody knows who the cheerleaders are. So, but fast forward, I guess, probably 6 years or so.
Yeah.
And I was back from college. I went to school at Texas A&M and got a degree in animal science there. And I came back home and was working in the preconditioning yard. Erica was working in the note department at our local bank, and she saw how much money I had as a young single.
Remember that he said I was working in the loan department, though. So
yeah, but you're also from that side of the track, so it wouldn't take much.
Yeah. It didn't have. It appeared appearances, Rob. Appearances look good. So, but I seen her there at the bank, and my cousin was a banker there, and she had family that knew me, and they just kind of encouraged me to ask her out. So I asked her out, asked her if she wanted to go check cows one afternoon. And
I didn't know what that meant.
It's so romantic.
I actually did not know what it meant, so I was just like, sure.
So I went back to the preconditioning yard and got through doing all my stuff I had to get done there so I could get off in time to pick her up and go check cows, my personal cows, before it got dark. And she calls me right before it's time to come get her, and she's like, oh, I can't come, or some business. I don't
Ouch.
know what. Yeah, exactly. So then I kind of played hard to get for the next 2.5 months. When I ran into her at the old honky tonk we had here in town, I would dance with everybody but her, and kind of put on a show, a display with my moves, and then finally she begged my cousin to beg me to ask her out again. So I waited another couple weeks, and I asked her out on her birthday.
You didn't know it was my birthday.
I didn't know it was her birthday. I asked her out to go eat dinner this time. Just go in the middle of the day and eat dinner. Take her to the fanciest Mexican food place we got here in our hometown, and
Taco Bell.
Basically.
Yeah, she ordered a big old plate lunch and then ate 2 bites and said, well, we had an eat day for my birthday at the bank today, so I'm not very hungry. And I'm like, well, that's about $8 you got laying there that you didn't.
I guess you should have asked her to dance. That's pretty good flex on Erica. Yeah.
That was the next thing. Against my better judgment, I went ahead and asked her out again, and we went dancing, and pretty much hadn't been separated since then.
So take me back. I know you said you were working, with cattle, but I mean, where's the love of agriculture? Where'd that come from?
When I was a small kid, my dad and my mom both worked in a feedlot till I was about 4 years old. I had aunts and uncles that were involved in agriculture, so I would spend my summers working with them or going to, spend the weekends at their house. And I don't know, I just really developed a deep love for agriculture, and I just, like I always told myself, well, I want to have a ranch one of these days, and I want to be a rancher. And everything I did from that point on was geared towards making that dream come true. Started 4-H when I was in the 3rd grade, got my first checking account when I was in the 3rd grade so I could buy feed for my animals. FFA when I got into high school. All the jobs I got were ag related. I didn't go to work at the grocery store in town or a Walmart or anything like that. My first real job was picking up rocks for a farmer and then tearing down some old fences for another person. And then I got a job working at the sale barn. And then got a job in the preconditioning yard, then went on to college and worked for ranches when I was in college, came back home, went back to work in the same preconditioning yard I worked in high school. So I really wanted to go to vet school, Rob, and that's a whole nother story. But
It's a commitment.
well, it wasn't so much the commitment. It was just I enjoyed spending more time at the Dixie Chicken at Texas A&M than I did most of my classes. So
Okay. I don't know if that's where you eat chicken or get drunk or both.
both. One of the reasons I feel like I didn't get into vet school, so I probably didn't apply myself quite enough in college, and then I got arrested for DWI my summer between my junior and senior year of college, and got put on school probation. So vet school's competitive enough as it is, but it really don't make your application look good if you're on school probation. So
Yeah.
I would pass it up to Miller Lite and bad decisions.
Well, you were young. I mean, let's not talk about all my bad decisions too. But Erica, you were busy embezzling at a bank, right? And then when you're meeting Cody and you're falling in love, you knew like ag and farming and ranching was going to be part of your future. Were you okay with that?
I think I was up for anything. I mean, obviously I was desperate, right? According to y'all.
Single unwed mother. I mean, the choices were slim. So.
But we lived in a small town. It wasn't like I was that far removed from agriculture. I mean, I was around it my entire life, but it wasn't something that I saw myself as, growing up to be a rancher one day. But as soon as that vision came in, I was all for it. And
it was an adventure.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
It became a job.
Uh-huh. 2 kids, how old are they?
15 and 20. One turned 16 in a few days, so.
Oh my gosh! Has he got his license already?
He's about to.
Oof.
He's been driving around with his learner's permit. So.
Well, it's Texas. I mean, you can drive and get married when you're 9, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, are the kids? Are they all into the ranch too?
Yes, our daughter. She grew up there. When we bought our place, she was just about a year old, and then we moved out there when she was probably, 7 or 8. Got our house built and got moved on to the place. Our ranch was just bare. It didn't have a set of working pens on it. It didn't have a house. It didn't even have a water line run to it. Didn't have electricity on it anywhere. I mean, it was just raw land, and it took us a little time to get a house built and get going. And our son is pretty much, I guess he was 3 when he moved out there, but they've been a part of it ever since we started on it. They've each had their own different classes of livestock, whether it was cattle or sheep or horses. Been very involved in all of it.
Mm-hmm. When we started doing the XM show, Emily gets the guests mainly for that. And, I challenged her. I said, it'd be cool to get some first-generation farmers because that's kind of like a unicorn. Well, I'll be darned. I mean, there's a lot of first-generation people out there. But it's not the way like I started. People are more ingenious. They're just clever on the way that they're able to do this. You guys started a ranch from nothing. What would you attribute that to?
First and foremost, it's just a blessing. We know that we're just stewards of what he gives us to watch over. It's something that I've prayed about since I was a kid. After that, it's just hard work and determination and dedication. I mean, you can't listen to all the people that tell you, you can't do that. The only way is you either got to marry it or inherit it. You can't listen to that. I mean, just because they don't have the gumption to do it or they don't have the drive or the desire to make it on their own from nothing doesn't mean it can't be done. And you have to learn to think outside of the box and not necessarily do what everybody around you is doing. Like for us on our piece of land, I can't run a set of mama cows on it year round because it doesn't make any money. It doesn't allow us to continue to grow our operation. So after a couple of years of doing that and seeing that, hey, weaning a few calves every year barely pays for the fertilizer and the wheat and the hay baling, we got to do something different. So we started running stocker calves, some big cut bulls, buying some 700-800 pound bull yearlings and castrating them ourselves and getting them over all that, getting them healed up and then shipping them to the feed yard. That progressed into buying and selling replacement females. And then a few years ago, Clancy, our son, came to us and said, hey, I want to do something on my own. Well, I let him buy a handful of Dorper ewes, and that turned into Well, darn, where I can run one cow, I can run 10 ewes and sell $2,000 worth of lambs off of those 10 ewes, or at that time I can sell an $800 calf. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out, well, maybe even though I don't want to be a sheep farmer or sheep rancher, we might better get us some because they make more money than the cows do. So
I think your first mistake was listening to your son. Every time my sons come up with an idea for the farm, I just tell them, be quiet. It is cool that your son came up with the idea of the sheep. I mean, where did he get that from?
Well, he had been watching us trade cattle, run those yearlings, those cut bulls, seeing us trade some heifers in and out. And he came to me and just said, I think he was about 13 then, maybe a little younger than that. He might have been 11. And he was like, Dad, I kind of want something of my own here. And I said, well, but I don't have enough country to give you a spot where you can run any cattle on. But here in front of the house, we've got a little old 10-acre coastal field. I said, you can buy you some sheep and put out there if you want to. I'd heard some stories of some guys having some dorpers and stuff like that and doing good with them. So he took some of his money. He shows in our county fair every year, and he's had him a little savings from making the auction those years, and bought him some dorper ewes. And a handful of them were bred. I think he bought like 20 or 25 the first round. And about half of them had lambs, so he was able to sell 10 or 15 lambs. And it was like, dang, where these 10 ewes were running, where that 10 head would have been one cow, you sold $2,000 worth of lambs, and I would have sold an $800 calf off of that at that time. So that don't take much of a rocket scientist to figure out that that's the way to go. So
yeah, but they're sheep.
They're sheep, exactly, and they're
He drives in daily and says, "I hate sheep."
Yeah, I thought cattle guys absolutely hated sheep.
Well, I think they do, but one of the things I've been finding out over the last few years is that all those big ranches that they had their sheep in the back where nobody saw them.
It's like the organic guy spraying at night. I get it.
Cattle for show and sheep for dough is what the old saying is, but they do good, and we keep them year round now. I mean, we took his little flock of 20 or 25 to he's I partnered with him on them now. We've got around 150 ewes right now, but we've seen some pretty good benefits from that flock of sheep that I didn't really put into context or didn't think about when we first got them. And like, we haven't sprayed weeds in 2.5 years. I mean, we rotate those sheep around, and they do a great job of controlling our weed population. So instead of spending money to spray them, we're getting paid to graze them now.
Okay. So, Erica, is the ranch, is that your full-time gig, or what else do you guys do?
No, Cody still makes me work at a real job, a real 8 to 5. So I have worked for USDA Rural Development for the last 16 years. I'm in public affairs, so that's my gig.
So what do you do at public affairs?
I write news releases and speaking engagements and things like that. I write the talking points for that kind of stuff. That, the funding that we spend in rural America for housing and businesses and community facilities.
Okay, so you're like the voice behind the voice.
Yes, correct.
Okay. You could just draw on your own life as like rural development. You guys have done it.
Right. It's not hard. Luckily, I drove to my job for about 13 years, but then after COVID happened, I was able to get a job, same for USDA as well, but I get to work from home now. So I save about 2 hours a day driving back and forth and get to spend that extra time on the ranch. So
yeah, but that's less time away from Cody. Is that good or bad?
But it's give and take.
Yeah, I could see that.
I make it a pretty good point to be gone from the house as much as possible. So I still have a day job also. We own and operate dry cleaners and a laundromat here in our hometown of Gatesville. We have some rental properties that we own along with my cousin who we're partners with on the cleaners. And the last few years, we didn't build any this year, but the years previous to this, we've built a couple of spec homes every year, and I do the general contracting on all of them.
Uh-huh.
So I sit down every day to do that, so I don't have to be around them as much.
Okay, well that's a plus. The cleaners, I could only imagine your view of the general public some days.
They're really, we got some really good customers and some really good employees. there are some times when it's like, hey, you didn't get this clean, and it's like, well, I mean, yeah, you rolled around in an oil bath underneath something. Yeah, it's not. That's just part of it. Or, we'll get your machine shrunk this. Well, no, there's a machine shrunk it, but it's called your refrigerator, not my press. But um, pretty good with everybody, and it's really been a good business, and we really got some great employees at the cleaners, and that's what makes it worthwhile. Is, I mean, 3 of these employees that we have were here before we bought it 12 years ago, and just seeing their families grow and watching, them develop has been awesome for us.
Mm-hmm. I just saw a video where someone went to a laundromat and they put one of those pack and plays, the kid things in there, and it destroyed the washing machine.
They put the pack and play?
Well, I mean, you can't be stupid, Rob. I mean, it just happens sometimes, but our laundromat it does pretty good. We don't have much stuff get tore up, but we've got some really good machines too. We don't have any, just a low. We try not to keep any just cheap junk in there. So.
Mm-hmm. So when did this social media stuff start?
So we started social media probably 12 years ago. We were very involved with Texas Farm Bureau, and they always encouraged us to tell our story so that, somebody in town wasn't trying to tell it for us and getting it wrong.
We don't want the average Joe out there to mix up the Farm Bureau farm organization with the insurance side of stuff. So all of your Farm Bureau organizations across the nation, most of them have a member benefit where you can buy insurance from them, but their core of their organization is to protect the rights of farmers and ranchers. And each one of those across the state has a young farmer and rancher program, just like Texas does, where they help to cultivate those young farmers and ranchers into being the next voice of agriculture. And that's what Erica was talking about when we were heavily involved in the Texas Farm Bureau.
I was ready to buy some life insurance, but I guess we'll move on.
I always get it wrong.
Are they the ones that kind of gave you your spark?
Definitely where we got our spark. Back then, we were just on Facebook and Instagram.
MySpace.
We were not on MySpace. Stop saying MySpace.
Great platform, really.
We would share our story. We would share kind of just things that we thought were actually really interesting every day, or not even every day, once a week or something that happened on the ranch. Back then, I didn't realize that average people they're very interested in just the menial things that we're doing every day on the ranch. But either way, we didn't bust out of our bubble of family and friends, so it's not like our platforms were growing for, the last 12 years. But then 3 years ago, Cody said something smart aleck on a video, and I posted it on TikTok. We had just gotten TikTok, and I posted it, and it kind of went viral, and he thought he was then the king of TikTok immediately. And
what did he say?
That made us kind of go viral, or what we thought was viral?
She said a smart aleck.
So we were getting ready to go pen some cows and wean some calves, and I told Erica and Clancy, they were riding with me, and I quoted Denzel Washington from We Are the Titans. I said, if you miss a cut today, you're going to have to run a mile. Or if you let a cow bluff you, you're going to run a mile. And, we post that, and
makes sense.
That time, it got like 15,000 views. For us, that was viral because everything we had before that was 200 or 300.
Mm-hmm.
So the next I made myself the king of TikTok since I'd had a viral video, and it just kind of went from there.
And we just saw that momentum immediately, and I was like, well, we just need to keep posting videos and see if we can keep this thing going. And so that's what we did.
In the beginning, 3 years ago, I wouldn't slow down to do anything. It's like, we don't have time for that, or, I'd go do something. She's like, did you make a video while you're doing that? No, I didn't make a video while I was doing that. But she was persistent and stayed after me because she saw that, hey, if we stay on top of this, it can do something good for us and for agriculture. And she kept after it. So now I can slow down and video stuff and explain what I'm doing and why we're doing it. And it's really been good.
Do you think not growing up doing this on the ranch or farm helps you? Like you mentioned, Erica, about like things that are mundane, but people were fascinated by them.
Yeah, I think maybe so. I think because I didn't grow up getting yelled at while I was doing farm and ranching tasks my whole life. So I find it all interesting, and I want to learn everything that there is to learn about it. So I find it interesting to ask the questions that I think people would ask.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point about being yelled at too, because, the whole slowing down and taking the video, that's like during harvest or planting when I should be doing it. I don't know. I feel wrong doing it.
Right. Exactly.
But in the grand scheme of things, though, just spending 3 minutes doing something that might change somebody's mind about agriculture for the rest of their life, have you lost that much productivity?
Yes.
And yes, you have.
I don't know. In my mind, it seems like I do, but I get your point, and it's actually a very, very good point that you make. When you're doing these videos, I mean, who's your audience?
I would say our audience is just the general public that's 3 or 4 generations removed from agriculture. We're not making videos for that 5th generation farmer or rancher that's already forgot more about doing stuff than we have. I mean, we're not going to change their mind. I mean, we've got a little feedlot that we built there at the house this summer where we're finishing out some fat cattle. And Rob, we feed whole corn. At 90% of my ration is whole corn, 10% hay, and then we put a little bit of additive in there from ADM beef. It's called ADM beef trait. And you wouldn't believe how many people tell me you can't feed a steer whole corn. He won't produce on it. It's just going to go out the back end of him. He's not going to get nothing out of it.
He's going to die.
He's going to die. We weighed some steers that have been on feed for 75 days last night, and they're gaining 4.9 pounds a day in Central Texas on whole corn. But it don't work.
I'm assuming that's good.
Well, I mean, the industry average is 3 to 3.5, so on cracked corn.
Yeah, and you're dealing with like the ice states where it's not 150 degrees every day.
We're coming through summer right now and have cattle that are doing that. I mean, that's pretty good average daily gain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't get ice on them, but the guys that have been doing this forever, they watch us, and some of them relate to us and say, yeah, that's awesome, you're doing a great job. But a lot of them are like, look at this moron or something like that, But one of the benefits, I hope this rain, do y'all hear this rain is on the pickup? Is that coming through?
Yeah, we ordered that for you. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the great things about being first generation like Eric and I are is we don't have someone stopping us from doing something saying, hey, we're not going to do that because it didn't work when we tried it 30 years ago. We don't have one saying, no, we've never done that before. We can't, so we're not going to do that now. We're not going to change it. We're not going to try something different because there's no reason to. So we can do things that a lot of maybe multi-generation guys don't get the opportunity to do. The downfall is a lot of times we don't have that voice of experience there to say, hey, here's why you probably shouldn't do that. Let me explain to you why we don't do it this way. I mean, we have some really good mentors in our life that we can bounce ideas off of, but it's different than having a dad or a grandpa there you're still trying to produce enough income to feed them and their families too, on top of yours.
Mm-hmm. What you guys have built, I don't know. I couldn't even imagine it. The social media, it has grown. I mean, you guys have got a huge following. How's it changed your lives?
It allowed us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't have done quite so quickly in our lives already.
Basically ride around with sunglasses and a Porsche most of the time now. But
that's
I'm
nice.
Just kidding.
But has it led to some other things?
Absolutely. It's opened lots of doors. We've got to go on quite a few different speaking engagements to speak to other young farmers and ranchers all across from Florida up to Indiana, Ohio. It just gives us the opportunity to share our story and hopefully impress on them the importance of sharing their story, because agriculture is the basis of this entire nation, and without it, it's not going to make it. But we also are in a time where a lot of agriculture has been hated for the last 15 or 20 years. But after COVID, it really seems like there's been a resurgence there of wanting to get to know who your local farmer and rancher is.
Mm-hmm.
And people have the mindset now that they really want to listen to us and find out, and by us, I mean producers, not Cody and Erica, about where their food and their fiber comes from and how it's produced and why we do the things we do. Most of the hate that I see towards agriculture now is from agriculture itself. It's like we're the white trash kids in the town. It's like if we can't find somebody else to fight, we'll just fight each other. And it really baffles me why we can't just If you want to be an all organic, go for it. If you want to be a conventional farmer, rancher, go for it. There's a plate for everybody's product. I don't understand why ag is constantly bickering with each other.
Because we're stubborn. Erica, do you like the speaking?
You want an honest answer, or?
We generally lie on here, but so whatever you want.
So I am a complete introvert, and I would love to stay in my house and never see anybody. Everybody's always like, how are you an introvert? You're on camera in front of millions of people. And I'm like, it's just me and a camera at that point. Like, there's no one there. So, no, I don't love speaking engagements, but I do love the fact that it gets me out of my comfort zone, and you're not going to ever get better if you don't, put yourself in situations that make you uncomfortable. So I do appreciate that. And we get to meet a lot of people and see a lot of places that we haven't seen before, and people with lots of stories that are very interesting. So
we got to go to the FFA convention this year. That was awesome.
Yep.
We got to meet a lot of folks there and see that the future of agriculture is bright. There were, 68,000 kids there that are wanting to be involved in agriculture. So that was promising.
What's the future with the social media? Just going to keep going with what you got, or do you have any plans?
We just kind of share our daily life. So we're going to continue to put out content as long as people continue to watch it and get something out of it. And we've got a few ideas that we want to, I don't want to say capitalize on, but that we want to pursue for some seminars or something coming up in the next couple of years. Our number one question we get asked all the time is how do I get started if I don't have family involved or I'm not going to inherit anything? How do I get started? So, we'd like to do maybe once or twice a year somewhere across the nation, go to a state and have a little kind of a Ag 101 kind of a deal for folks that have never castrated a calf, never gave a shot, never, just don't know anything in the world about ranching at all, but just kind of a little beginner's crash course kind of deal. Something we thought about.
A dude ranch.
Kind of, but not, more like hey, I bought 10 or 15 acres here, and what can I do to make my piece of land profitable? Maybe show them how to sort a calf off of a cow, or how to give an implant or a vaccination. Just kind of the little basic stuff that we kind of take for granted since we've been around it so long.
Mm-hmm. You guys are both very active in your local community, 4-H and Farm Bureau and your church. I mean, that all has to take a lot of time. Why do you volunteer?
I think it's important to give back to got us to where we are. And I say we as in Cody, because I wasn't in 4-H as a kid, but he learned a lot and got to where he is from 4-H and FFA and things like that. So we find it important to give back to those things in our community. And same with Farm Bureau, got a lot of relationships out of being involved with Farm Bureau over the last 15 years. So we find it important to give back to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Erica don't to shortchange herself. She was heavily involved in athletics, and a lot of volunteer time was put into that and helped her to get to where she was at in her walk. And that's what we're here for, is to help others to grow their walk, and just be there to help when we can. So it's important for us to give back because people gave to us to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's good to remember. I don't know what it is in your corner of the world, but I know, around us, there is struggles in the volunteer organizations and stuff like this to find people that want to be involved. I don't know. They say people are more busy now than they used to be. Social media changes things, but I think you guys are kind of a good example of what it really means and the benefits of actually getting involved personally.
Well, thank you.
So, guys, what I like about you, too, is that you're not afraid. You don't shy away from your faith on your social media. Have you ever had people kind of give you any blowback for that?
We've gotten blowback from day one, I think. Very early on, I think we kind of started this journey, where we kind of blew up on social media in August of what year was that?
21.
And then in December of that year, we were at a conference, and that was the day that we decided that if we were going to keep doing this, we needed to make sure that people knew who we talked it up to and why we were on this platform. And so we put out our first devotional that day. And yes, I think immediately there was always one or two every week that we got some blowback from. But
like Erica said, when we post, and we do it every week, we call it a capsule sermon. It's on Sunday nights. Whatever God's laid on my heart, I'll take a scripture or two, read it, explain it, show you how to apply it in today's life or in your life today. And, we'll get people like, I can't believe you believe in that, or we'll get people that just absolutely talk trash to us on every single post we put up. But we've also had those same people that do that maybe a year later come back and say, hey, I wanted to apologize because I was hurting at that point in my life. I just lost my spouse or my child or whatever it is, and listening to your capsule sermons and listening to that and seeing y'all's faith has, I'm going back to church now and this, just whatever their story is. And, it's really that the only reason they were after us, they were hurt. The only comfort they could find was to try to hurt somebody else. So we know for a fact that this life is just temporary and that eternity in heaven is what we're really working towards. And not that we can earn it, but we are called to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. And we take that more serious than anything. I mean, our social media journey could stop at any time, but our faith is not. So sharing that, and if it turns some people off, that's okay, because if it gets one person out of the next 5 or 6 years that we're doing it, if it leads them to Christ, then we've done what we were set out to do.
Mm-hmm. We've talked with some other social media people in agriculture that are, kind of the same boat where they like to do devotion. They like to talk about their faith. And it seems like you'll be doing whatever per post. And then the devotional ones, it's like, I don't know, you cut it in half out. They just don't go over. Do you guys find the same thing?
we've definitely found that, especially on YouTube for sure. On the short platforms, Cody does a really good job of like putting things in just like layman's terms where you can just really understand it. So they don't do near as well as everything else, but that's okay because they're reaching who they need to reach. But yeah, our YouTube is always way different numbers than what we usually get, you know.
We actually started a sister YouTube channel called Keep Praying. You know, our tagline is Keep Ranching. We coined that 3 years ago when we first got into this. You know, I closed out a video, and I don't know why I said it. I just said, y'all keep ranching. That kind of turned into our slogan, I guess. And then, you know, now when we work on something in the shop, if we're working on like Clancy's square body that we've been rebuilding, if we're in the shop, it's Keep Wrenching. When we close out our capsule sermons, it's Keep Praying. So we started a secondary channel called Keep Praying just because what we were kind of told and from talking to some other YouTubers is that by separating those channels, it would help the growth of the devotional side of it, reach more people. And we just did that within the last few months. The jury's out on whether or not that works or not. So,
yeah, it's kind of nice, like Erica said, you know, to make it personal. I mean, the Bible sometimes is tough to, you know, a lot of begotten. He begot this and she begot that. And sometimes you get, if you put it into layman's terms, or you can, you know, kind of give examples of how it affected your life, I think that goes a lot farther.
But he always comes up with some kind of analogy that goes with it. And we always get a lot of comments about how he just puts it into terms that are easy to understand. And so I'm thankful that we have him to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kudos to you because, you know, like I said, I don't think you're alone in finding out that, you know, it's people that are watching you for the ranching. You know, it is what it is. Human nature. You're not going to appeal to everybody talking about your faith. But for you guys to put it out there, I mean, it says something about you.
It's probably the biggest part of who we are in our life is our faith. And we couldn't honestly do any of this without the Lord. And we don't want to hide that from people. I mean, we want to give him the honor and the glory and the praise. So we just make it a point to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing about our channel is it's very diverse because from the get-go, we kind of started with, I mean, we were going to work cows, but it was a humor post. So we have a lot of people around just for our banter and our humor that aren't necessarily there for ag facts and finding out where their food comes from. But thankfully, we're able to kind of sprinkle that in and show them where their food's coming from, even though they're there for the comedy. But then they also get a little bit of Jesus in there, too. So
that's one of the things that my mind. We'll get comments from people and be like, you know, it might be somebody in downtown Los Angeles, California, and it's like, why in the world are they watching this, or why are you watching this? And they're like, because they'll be like, am I ever going to castrate a calf? Nope. Am I here for this whole video? You betcha I am. And social media has opened up so many avenues for not only us, but all creators to reach people that we would never have the opportunity to do on our own. So it's kind of while you can tie up a lot of time making posts or watching, social media posts and stuff like that, you can use it for good. It's not just, dance crazes and stuff like that.
Erica, is it tough having your husband be a sex symbol on social media?
It is terrible.
You've seen my mustache, haven't you, Rob?
Yeah.
Philip sent me a letter, said he was jealous of it, wanted to know what I was doing for my hair care products.
Who sent you a letter?
Tom Selleck. I'm joking you. I'm not. That's not true.
I thought, is he still alive?
What? I know you ain't got nothing to do all winter up there when it's cold and you ain't farming. Watch some Blue Walsh or something. Come on now.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I tell you what, you guys do put in the work down there. Farming up here is wonderful. About maybe 2.5 months of work every year, and yeah, we call it a day.
Oh, wow.
Well, which between Cody and Erica, which one's the funniest? Me.
Cody's never gonna admit it, but it's me. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys are reaching into agriculture too. Actually, I had a friend of mine. Well, I use that term loosely. I know a person that recommended we talk to you guys, Jess Norman. She lives down there by you guys, by Houston. Yeah, I would love to go down. I haven't seen her since they dropped the charges, so I'm really looking forward to getting down to Texas and visiting people. Maybe we'll stop by your ranch too.
Yeah, come on by. We'll feed you a big old ribeye off one of these feedlot steers that ate whole corn. You can tell everybody if it's good or not.
Well, I'm not going to bash a grass-fed. I've always been a corn-fed guy, so I'm glad you and I agree on that.
No, I think if you like grass-fed, then more power to you. And I hope you find a rancher that likes to grass feed and wants to fix you a steak too.
Yeah,
but I like mine corn-fed. I want it big and juicy, and not that grass finish can't be that. I just want to get it there the more conventional way.
Uh-huh. Do you guys have trouble with people stopping by the farm, the ranch?
We actually have not had uninvited visitors, but we're kind of well off the beaten path. You don't just get there accidentally, I guess.
I have a lot of requests, but unfortunately at this point we don't have the capacity for that.
I don't think, unfortunately, we don't have like a show and tell type farm. It's not a teaching farm or teaching ranch. While that would be something neat to have in the future, but that's our home, and you don't really want somebody there unless you invite them, kind of deal.
I think most people would recognize that, wouldn't want people showing up at their house. Let me ask you this. You guys get some people, not just in agriculture, some people that are starting something new, want to show it, want to tell their story on social media. What advice do you give them?
My advice is always just to start making videos, start making posts, and start putting something up. Don't worry about the audience you're reaching at that moment. Just start doing it and getting comfortable with it.
And my advice would be to think about what you enjoy watching and what others want to enjoy. If you can't take the time to wipe your lens off before you film, nobody's going to want to watch. If it's so loud you can't hear nothing that anybody's saying, nobody's going to watch that. So try to make it visually appealing. I'm not saying you got to go spend thousands of dollars to buy a piece of equipment to film with. Most everybody's got a pretty good cell phone that has a good camera and microphone on it. Just be cognitive of that. And then the second thing I would say is to not judge your own personal worth by the number of views you get, because you can post and post and post and something not get 200 or 300 views and you'll be like, well, this is terrible, I'm just going to stop. And then you do something else that you think is pitiful and it'll get hundreds of thousands of views.
That's unusual sometimes. And believe me, I'm not savvy on social media, but sometimes when I film something, I think this is funny. This is funny right here. It goes nowhere. And then the other time I just simply say, I wonder how much corn we can fit in a wind turbine, and it goes crazy. It makes no sense to me. I'm glad you guys have figured it out.
Yep.
Cody and Erica, if people want to find you on social media or get a hold of you in any way, where do they go?
You can find us on all platforms at Bar 7 Ranch.
And keep praying if you want some devotion.
Okay. And the MySpace, that's Bar 7 too?
Oh, my God. There is no MySpace.
We do have a merch account if you'd like to go to that. It's called bar7merch.com.
Oh, okay. Can I buy a cowboy hat?
You can buy a baseball cap with a cowboy hat on it.
I'm a grain farmer. I think I'm a little heavy on ball caps, like 1,000 of them.
You get you a good warm hoodie, though.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, Cody and Erica, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are busy, and I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Really, really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate what you guys are doing for agriculture. It is, I'm going to say, one of the harder tasks. It would be a first-generation business, not just because of, the lack of having things handed to you, but the knowledge mountain that you have to climb to get all that done. It says a lot about you, too. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you do for agriculture. I want to thank you for what you did for us today. So I appreciate it. Cody and Erica, Archie, everybody else, we'll catch you next time.
And thank you for listening to the Shark Farmer podcast. I am your host, Rob Sharkey. Please visit us at www.sharkyfarms.com and just search for Shark Farmer to follow me on Twitter. Later.